Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Words of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Dion Sanchez, and joining me in this particular episode is Zach Beach. Thank you for joining me today, Zach.
Thanks so much for having me, Dion. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So, Zach, before we get into this episode, if you could share with my audience a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Again, thanks so much for having me on. And I'm so happy that I came across your podcast, Words of Heart, because that is my work in the world. My mission in life is to bring more love into the world. And I do that a number of ways. I love to teach yoga and meditation to get people in touch with their own bodies and own hearts. And I love to write poetry too, which to me is words directly from the heart. And on the level of the mind, I also love to write blogs, and I have my own book, which is also, again, all about the heart. And I'm also a love and relationship coach. So I was like, we have to connect. So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you're a poet, author. I love poetry because I find poetry to be awesome. Plus, I am a poet, hence the title. So, in regards to the intimacy coach, I know there's many intimacy. I'm mispronouncing the word. I don't know why. Sensual and/or intimacy approaches when it comes to any therapeutic methods. Is there one that you personally or you show your clients to use?
So don't feel bad about mispronouncing intimacy, because sometimes in my workshops, I say that intimacy is into me see. In other words, seeing into somebody on a deep emotional level. And that's the key, right? And that to me is kind of my approach. Is to me, we're on this planet to love. Every human being needs a sense of connection and belonging. Much of our mental and emotional distress stems from disconnection. So I do think of my work in the world as meant to cultivate connection with people, for people that they can connect to themselves and also their partnerships. And as a coach, what we really are meant to do is not necessarily help people, but empower people to help themselves. One of the things I've discovered on my own spiritual path is that we have an innate source of wisdom inside all of us, and we can simply bring those tools to the surface, and we have everything that we need in order to live a fulfilling and happy life.
Zach, you were going on such a good roll, but I think it froze a good 10 or so seconds. So if you could, I don't know, if you could repeat basically what you just said, that would be great. I'm so sorry.
Well, I know how Riverside, usually Riverside makes two like local
It's
recordings. So even if I'm frozen, like the recording is still happening, like if you're editing it later. What so what should I repeat? Where should I start from?
You
can't hear me very well. Freezing.
No, I can hear you. I'm just
okay.
Not used to using my microphone. I usually know where part to start from or continue from, but it started glitching.
Just keep it going. Just keep it going.
I guess after the part where you... Okay, yes. As I indicated, there are many levels or practices in regards to intimacy coaching, I believe. And I was asking you what particular methods or practices you implement into your coaching that you find would help or benefit specifically, I guess, your clients.
Right. And I was saying that don't feel bad about mispronouncing intimacy, because I often mispronounce it, because I love to remind my clients that intimacy is into me see. It's seeing deeply into somebody's core nature and loving them for just who they are. And that to me is my approach. I believe that every human being needs a sense of love, connection, and belonging in their life. And we find that through connection, better connecting to ourselves, better connecting to each other. And as a coach, I help to facilitate that connection. And I don't necessarily stick to one particular approach other than the assumption that love is the reason that we are here on this planet. But as coaches, we do help people, but really the main intention is to empower people to help themselves, is to help people resource their own experience, their own wisdom, their own tools, their own communities in order to really get what they want. And that's what I found on the spiritual path, on listening to the heart, is we have everything it is that we need to live a happy and joyful life. And part of that path of a coach is helping people discover their innate source of wisdom and knowing, so that that will propel them on the right path.
Absolutely. So, in keeping with your own internal wisdom, do you believe for your clients that self love is a huge part of that internal wisdom before they can reach or connect someone on a deep spiritual level?
I love that question. So basically, is there a connection between self-love, discovering the wisdom inside of us, and cultivating connection with another person? And I'll say yes, absolutely. So what I don't necessarily advise is the common cliche that we often hear that you can't love somebody until you love yourself. This is simply not true. There's a lot of people who struggle with self-love, who maintain healthy supportive partnerships, or maybe the work that they do in the world involves loving others. Maybe they're a nurse and they have a lot of patients, or a therapist with a lot of clients, and they spend a lot of time loving and supporting others. However, the research shows that those who do have a high level of self love, self esteem, self compassion do have happier, more supportive relationships. Because a huge part about self love is recognizing that you are worthy of love. You are worthy of all the love that your heart can hold. And people that have high levels of self-love know that they're worthy of love, and then they're more willing to ask for what they want. They're more willing to acknowledge they have emotional needs and to ask their partner to meet those needs, and to expect their partner to meet those needs. So yes, self-love helps us with connection. And also, the path to self-love does involve letting go of judgments, letting go of resistance, letting go of wanting ourselves to be any different, because there's nothing wrong with you. And that release of tension does help us discover the innate source of wisdom that we all have, because it's often obscured by that resistance, by that tension, by the clouds in our mind, right? This is something I sometimes say in my teaching, that what you're experiencing right now is the weather, but who you are is the sky. In order to discover ourselves as the sky, we have to let the weather dissipate. We have to clear the mind, open the heart, find ourselves in this moment.
I love your analogy because I'm just such a poet at heart. Speaking of poetry, um, what does your I'm just picking your brain here, obviously. So obviously you mentioned you're a poet. Is there a specific poems you focus on, or is it all in connection to obviously the heart?
In terms of my writing or in terms of my reading? Like,
Let's
what
start with
poetry do I
writing.
love? So absolutely, for me, my poetry is all about the heart. Even my very first poetry book was called Drinking Roses on Sunday, which was my metaphorical way of saying that love is my religion, because the roses symbolizes love, and usually people go to church on Sundays. And that's where the title of my first poetry book came from. And the tagline was 10,000 words to open the heart. So that largely has been my focus, right? But I do love to digest all kinds of poetry, all types of poetry. I think it's important for artists to go beyond their own genre, so to speak. Like if you're a drum and bass DJ, it's okay. You can listen to other genres of music because it will help inform your own creative process. And I use that to inform how I do my own writings.
For a second, I thought you froze. But I
No,
find
I
it to
just
be
stopped
so
talking.
amazing and because, and I'm just gonna speak a bit as far as myself, because before we start recording, I did mention, or in the midst of the recording, Riverside is very much new to me. Um, I am a poet, so my poetry specifically centers on, well, love, hence the podcast, but just sensuality and nature and spirituality as well. For me, if in regards to my poetry, I find it to be really therapeutic and healing outlet for me, because growing up, I had difficulty sharing or being vulnerable because the world and very much people rejected me. And I can get more into that later on. But I just felt like there was no way for me to speak up or express myself. I am a Christian, so God and spirituality does play a fundamental role in my life. But in regards to actually writing, it just, poetry has a way of releasing my anxiety into the universe, and just it puts me in a different, comforting and safe what's the word, safe
Place.
atmosphere or comfort zone.
Yeah,
Safe place.
that's so
yes.
wonderful. It's true. Poetry can absolutely be a refuge from challenging times. Is we can both turn to poetry for guidance in terms of what we need to do with our life or the planet, but also absolutely writing is such a wonderful way to transform our own challenges, our own pain into something beautiful. You've probably gone to many a spoken word poetry slam, and it's so incredible when someone will take the most painful experience of their life, often, and turn it into an incredible art piece.
It's funny you mention that, because I think I've only ever been to one. I wish I made it a thing to go to more, but there's a bunch of them. So, and there's also
YouTube
Zoom,
is also your friend.
and virtual ones, which
yeah.
Yes, I have taken advantage of being in a virtual spoken word as well, which was pretty cool. Although they just uploaded videos, it wasn't really live, which I guess takes away the live aspect of it. But again, there's plenty others. Obviously, I presume that the pandemic, which has affected all of us emotionally and physically, because we're still in it 2 years into it. Do you find, I'm trying to make sure I say the word right. I'll just go with deep connection, because that's the only wordage I can find. Do you find people during that specific time, or specifically the start of it, the start of the pandemic, seeking more deeper connections with others, and perhaps just finding a way to stay calm and safe, or just seeking or discovering, let me be more frank, searching for other ways to help them deal and or cope with this season? Because it definitely took everyone for a loop.
Yes, it turned our whole world upside down. It's so interesting because before the pandemic happened, I was on my mission to help people love, And everything that I could read from sociology and psychology was expressing the same reality that we're currently in a loneliness epidemic. We've talked about the epidemic we're in now, but before the current pandemic epidemic, we were in a loneliness epidemic. And that if you look at each subsequent generation up to today, we've become more lonely, more isolated, less social. People are going out less than ever before. People have less friends than ever before, less communities than ever before. Unlike 100 years ago, where you might have lived in a multi-generational family home of 10, 15 people, grandparents, grandchildren, have your communities like your church and other things, we've seen a total dissolving of those extended family structures and less communities that people feel a part of. So even before COVID happened, we were all desperately needing connection and not being able to find it in this world. And COVID just accentuated that. COVID just accelerated that. And that's one of the reasons why coping with COVID has been so hard, because as human beings, we're social beings, we're wired to connect, we're wired to connect. And then we were told, stay home, don't see anybody. don't hug your parents. And we're like, and that's why it was so hard. That's why I was so struggling. That's why right now depression and anxiety are on the rise. And this is a fundamental human need that we all have. When you were like, did COVID make people start searching for deeper meaning and connection? It's like we're always searching for meaning and connection. And we think that we're physical beings and all we need is food, shelter, and water, but that's not how a human works. We need love, connection, and belonging just as much as food and water for our survival. And we do, might be a little revolutionary here, but we kind of do need to restructure society in a way that does serve love and connection more so than the current trend of individualism, capitalism, materialism that focuses on simply an accumulation of material wealth and comfort at an expense of connection, community, and belonging.
Absolutely. In regards to I like how you started with the lonely epidemic. And I'm gonna share a bit of my lonely epidemic. Before that, that's a thing now. Honestly, I love how you phrased it. So, many moons ago, before pandemic, before podcasts were popular, there is this little girl, Dion, which would be me.
Little Dion, so cute.
Yes. So I entered this world. This would be when I was born. For the first 2 years of my life, I couldn't hear her talk. Obviously, that didn't stick because I had a lot more to say, clearly. So as a result of that, I had a lot of deficiencies. It was the 90s, so there was no medical term or diagnosis for what it was that I had. I was just 2 years delayed, is the description of which they gave me. So I was put into a special ed classroom with other kids with disabilities. And you would think because you have a same trait or common similarities that wouldn't be hard to get along or connect specifically with other kids such as you. But for me, that was just impossible. So they would be playing together with blocks, and my dad would get ready to pick me up for physical and speech therapy. And he would find me by myself in a corner with a block. So me being alone, that alone epidemic, continued to be the constant scenario throughout, really up until I got into high school. So that need for connection and acceptance, I understand that fairly well because I lacked that. I didn't have that group socialization that, at least from my own experience, I find pivotal to you kind of becoming into your own. I didn't have that socialization, so I couldn't figure out, hey, do I like purple? They like purple. Do they like blue? French fries. Not this glitch thing again. I couldn't figure out who I was, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually,
Yeah.
I was taken out of that particular classroom and put into a mainstream classroom. Like, hey, she's smart. Let's get her out of here. So I was put into a new environment, new curriculum, new social setting. I have a chance to make friends. Yay. And that still didn't happen. So, and I was picked on and made fun of for a variety of things, obviously, that you would be made fun of as a little kid. Glasses, big hair, big ears, French fries. Although I don't see how French fries to this day translates as an insult. I love French fries, so I still don't get that. But it wasn't so much, yeah, it's pretty funny. It wasn't so much them making fun of me for those mundane things, which were really mundane. It wasn't something that, I mean, it could hurt anyone, but it was just them simply rejecting me for being me. And I couldn't do anything to change that. I can go into this story all day long, but I've shared this in my own personal episodes on this podcast of mine. So fast forward to now, I obviously have that socialization and that connection that I prayed for and longed for, really up until 2010, about to go ready into high school. So when it comes to that isolation, that lack of socialization, just the need for acceptance and just being accepted, period, from anyone, I can fully understand and relate to anyone who is struggling with that, because I struggled with it for a great deal of my adolescent and teen years as well.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. And my heart goes out to you for the challenges that you experienced that no one should have to experience. But it really sounds like you've integrated it into your being and your understanding of the world. And that's one path that I really resonate with. It's sometimes described as the path of the wounded healer, which is to say somebody who has undergone a certain challenge and turned that into really important work, right? I find so many people who were previous addicts who are now helping others break out of addiction, people who were perhaps abused in a relationship that help others break out of their own abused relationships. So it's absolutely true. We can often take really challenging experiences in our lives, and that helps us empathize and understand other people who are going through the same experience. And often those same people will commit to making sure that nobody has to undergo the same pain and emotional challenges that they themselves experience. So sounds like you're doing that.
Thank you. It wasn't easy, and I can relate to the wounded warrior in that sense. So, which brings me to my favorite part of the show, and that is the icebreaker segment. It's laughable, it's funny. You have no idea what the icebreaker game is, which makes it all the more fun. But to make things easy, I'll start with the icebreaker question, which you kind of already have an inside scoop into it because you're also an author. So this question should come easy. Um, it is, if you had to come up with a title, not the name of your book, which you can share that in a few moments. If you had to come up with a title for where your life is at this precise moment in time, Riverside, the sky is blue, everything in this moment right now, what would that title be? And if you can explain, that would be even better.
It's so interesting because I thought you were going to be like my memoir, and I was like, all right, I got the perfect title. But you were like, right now, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. What is coming up for me right now?
I mean, if you have a memoir for your life right now, you could share it. But
still living,
it's just the joys of this question because people.
That's the thing. I'm still living my life. So you're right. I don't have to write my memoir just yet. I can just focus on the right here and right now. And I would make the title All of Life is Meeting. And to clarify what that means, it comes from the Russian philosopher Martin Buber. who was known for his elaboration of the I thou relationship. And he has this basic idea that all of life is meeting, aka the meeting of things. So sometimes I think all of life is just the emergence of meeting. So, for example, you take the sun and you take a ball of rock in the universe, they meet, and the earth and life and you and I are created. So, too, this is a meeting of hearts, I like to say, of, you said, I'm a poet. I'm like, we're all poets. Just most people don't know it yet, but you know you're a poet, and I know I'm a poet. So now we're just meeting right now in this space. And
you have a heart on your shirt. I just noticed
I
that.
Do. It has all sorts of encouragement. It says you are loving and you are kind. And that's what I like to wear. So you might know the poet David White, and he calls this the conversational nature of reality, that all of life is this meeting of things and seeing what arises from that meeting. And the more conversation that there is, the more life that there is. So that is my title for this moment in life.
That is beautiful. I love your answers. It makes my answer really lame, but not that lame. So my title, which you kind of already got the gist of it, so this answer shouldn't really come to a surprise to you or my audience because I mention it every time. And it's basically a warrior for change. I've had to go through a lot of obstacles in my life. So my life was far from ordinary, but it's made me a better person for it, obviously. But in the midst of the pandemic, really 2020, January 2020, is where this word initially started to take root because I was diagnosed with diabetes as well. So to have to undergo this new health change with a virus that can kill you with no vaccine is really terrifying. So it just brought its onset of fears and goals and just what I had another chance to live my life. Basically, I could have died quite literally, not in any other sense of the word, but the actual physical word. I could have died, but I didn't. So hence this conversation. But I could have had a really likely chance of not witnessing 2020 and enduring all 2020 had to offer with everybody else. So I couldn't really hate it.
Yay, 2020. I'm glad. I'm so happy that you're alive. Your life is precious and your life is a miracle. But it's also funny because it's like, did you really? I was like, did you want 2020 to be the year?
Yeah.
But I get it. So it's a type
I want
one
to
or type
dislike
2?
it. I want to hate it. It's type 1.
Okay.
We never. It's funny you mention it because you would think I would know this at this point, but it was so new and all the changes. Like, hey, I'm alive, and you have to have special doctors and get regular checkups, of which, and I'm a bad human for this. I didn't get regular checkups.
You're not a bad human. You're just human. Oh, I lost you.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, it still does the timer at least.
And we're back.
Okay, as I was saying, so basically, yeah, I had to witness 2020. I had another chance to live my life. So I felt that there was more purpose to me being here because I was alive. So it was placed on my heart through God to be a warrior for change. And that, in a way, initiated the seeds or roots of events which transpired and led me to launch this wonderful podcast we are having this conversation on to help others who are struggling with their mental health and just make sure they have a voice and that they are loved, particularly. So.
Yes, lovely.
Why can't I hear you?
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me? Oh, wow.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you.
can't hear you. Ah, I can't hear you though. Why can't I hear you?
I don't know. My little my little sound bar is going up and down.
It says you're speaking.
I am speaking. It's true.
I still can't hear you.
I am
what just
speaking
happened?
away.
I can't hear you.
Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Anyhow, I felt my calling through my diagnosis was to be a warrior for change, which led me to launch this podcast.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay.
It all comes full circle.
Absolutely. Full circle, full recording, hopefully. So on to my favorite part, which hopefully there are no interruptions of internet. So make sure I have everything. My favorite part. So we're on to the next part of the icebreaker segment, which is so much fun. And that is song association. You don't have to be an avid singer. You can be a karaoke singer, a shower singer, a yodeler. There has been a guest that has tried to yodel these words before. So to my listeners, if you can yodel these words, let me know. But here's how it works. I give you a word. See, words are important. I give you a word, and you can either sing it, rap it, yodel it, whatever version of vocal capability there is. It can either be in the title or in the lyric.
Oh, I lost you again.
Version of vocal capability there is. Until the timer goes off. So I hope you got that. You froze.
I think I got it. You're gonna give me a word, and then I'm going to do whatever I want with the word in a song.
Why? Okay, it's loading.
So you're gonna give me a word, and then I'm going to turn it into a song.
Okay.
I can hear and see you. Can you hear and see me? No. You can't hear and see anything.
Okay, it's still loading. is it loading? 3 minutes into it. Okay.
Can you hear and see me?
I'm so sorry, my audience. Hopefully he comes back. Hopefully.
You can hear and see me. Interesting. I can hear and see you. You can't see me.
Earth to Zach.
All right, I'm going to leave and come back.
Oh. And you're gone. Okay. Is he back, audience? Let's see. Why is there 3 chats? I can hear and see. Oh, I just saw the chat. I'm going to leave and come back. Okay. What just there's so many people now.
Can you hear and see me?
Studio. Who do I disconnect?
Can you hear and see me?
Okay.
You can't hear me or see me. Hello?
Okay. I can hear you and see you. Okay, let's get a video of that's floating, but I can hear you. I can see you.
I left and came back in.
To make sure that okay. All right, on to the game. So, the game. From the time I give you the word, so I give you the word, you use some type of brain power. It's amazing chaining. So you have to think of the song. You have to try to sing it. You can't make up the word or make up a song. Many people have tried to update this version of my game by using actual words and replacing them in a song. Yeah, you can't do that. So, and it can't be the name of an artist. It can't be like Popcorn Franklin or Faith Carnal or whatever. It has to be the song. So, with no more interruptions, hopefully, let's get into the game. So the first word, make sure everything's good. The first word is heart.
So, can you do it first so I know what you want?
Well, you just ran out of time in that few seconds.
So you want me to make up a song with the word heart?
It has to be an actual song with the word heart in it. If you had attempted, I might have to do a new word now, but normally try to think of a song pertaining to the word before the timer goes off.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they can't think that quickly.
So in my trainings,
and then I give an example afterwards.
In my trainings, we sing songs all the time. I mean, we will sit around, do some kirtan into the night, sit around a campfire into the night. So I got tons of songs off the top of my head. So I don't know if this counts in the rule, but there's one song to Mother Earth that involves a heartbeat. So I hope that counts. And that song goes like this. It goes, Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I feel your heartbeat. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I feel your heartbeat. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 ho, oh. Did you get that?
Yes. Trying to make sure. I wish this little circle square disappeared because it was in perfect screen frame. But yes, I got that. I was gonna say I might let you have that, but the timer was not going. It was off. So on to the next one. It was a good song though.
It is a good song. It's got a little dance
so
to it
the
too.
next word.
But I won't do the dance.
I would very much enjoy the dance. I don't know if you can dance on the screen though, because of how it is. But that would be funny. Why is it being weird? I was trying to make it so I could have a full screen of you and me and not your little square. But onto the game. So the next word is words.
Words? The word is words. And a song that has words.
Zach.
No, couldn't think of it. I should have predicted that. Your first one was heart, and your second one was words.
I can give you an example at this point because the timer went off. I can give you an example now because you lost. So, some answers other guests have given is bird, bird, bird. Bird is a word, that song. And my own personal answer to it, since sometimes guests really can't think that quickly, is the song More Than Words. Many people have covered the song. I just know the Westlife version of the song, I think. I think the original band is Extreme. But yes, on to the next one. Zach. But if it makes you feel better, this is not, it's a fun game, but it makes your brain think really quickly. And then it doesn't think, which makes it fun. So, on to the last word. I'm laughing because you're like so confused, but you did sing, which was fun.
I'm like, can I open up Spotify right now?
So I mean, you can open Spotify later, but that's the joys of this game. Actually enter your subconscious, your mind palace. I know it, which
my mind palace
is in existence. So let's see if your mind palace works right now. So the last word, the final word is believe.
Belief?
Mm-hmm. You can do it.
I could make up a song. I feel like I want to make up a song that's like, I believe in you, you believe in me, together we can be so happy, or something like that. But off the top of my head, I got nothing.
Oh, Zach. I think you're like the first guest that has been this confused when it comes to this game. Well, I could go with the old icebreaker question because, I mean, it was fun. You just didn't understand.
I'm going to open up my Spotify right now.
Okay, you're welcome to open up your Spotify. But thank you for indulging in my little icebreaker.
Apparently, John Mayer has a song called Belief. I never heard of it.
Well, your mind Palace was not working, which is understandable because it's hard to think that fast in 15 seconds. Because it's 15. There's another version of this game where it's like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So or 50 seconds. I'm really nice with the 15-second mark. The
like
answer
minutes.
I would have given is I Believe I Can Fly, which is by Brian McKnight. It's been covered by other artists as well.
I have heard of that song.
We can speak about songs all day long. And my phone apparently could too, because I did that secret thing. But we're at the end of this awesome episode. Many glitches, many occurrences, but we're still able to connect, which is what's important. So thank you so much for joining me. Please share where people can find your book. Do you have any social links? Is your book going to be on a planet on the moon? Where can people get in touch with you?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dion. It's been wonderful. And my name is Zach Beach. You can find me at zachbeach.com. And I'm also on all the social medias at Zach Beach Love. And I am super excited about my third poetry collection, which came out this month. It's called Pebbles, which you can get right now on Amazon, both the Kindle and the paperback versions. So if you also like sensuality, nature, spirituality, that's what this book is all about. So I'll be sure to send you a copy, okay, too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach, for joining me and enduring all the technical issues, which I'm really sorry about.
It happens.
To my listeners who are still listening, hopefully, thank you for joining us on the latest episode of the Words of Heart podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, if you actually want Zach to sing, here are the ways to tune in to this episode on the following platforms. You can find us on Facebook at the Words of Heart podcast and YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. We are also on Patreon now. And for those of you who are not aware of that, Patreon is an exclusive page of which you can pay for exclusive podcast content. So if you missed me while I was away, you can tune in and subscribe to that and pay for a daily dose of podcasting content. But until then, stay healthy, stay safe. Oh, almost forgot. You can find me on very much possible for intergalactic broadcasting to happen and for this to be listened to in another world or dimension or in a galaxy that has not been discovered. Anything is possible, but until then, stay healthy, stay safe. Again, thank you for joining me, Zach Beach. Again, I am your host, Dion Sanchez, and until next time. Bye!